What's up, everybody? Welcome back to week 4 of Early Morning PJ Podcast. Jacob and I are back at it again with our special guest, Father Sahd.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm so glad to be here and to wear your merch. I'm not.
So,
I thought we were having Adam Silver on.
Look, he looks exactly like Adam Silver, so he's our Adam Silver lookalike.
Someone saw me at the gym at Planet Fitness, and they said, "Oh my God, it's Adam Silver." And I said, "Do you think he would be working out at a Planet Fitness?" You know?
Hey, he might. I mean, it's cheap there. It's
Yeah.
$10 a pop, $10 a month. So, anyways, I want Father Sahd to introduce himself, and his favorite teams. Father Sahd, you can just get a brief rundown of who you like in each team.
Well, Peyton and Jacob, thank you very much for having me. I'm the chaplain where you go to school.
Right.
I'm the priest chaplain where you go to school, and normally, they treat me very badly.
No, we do not.
No, they're awesome. It's good to be with you guys. I'm a Steeler and Pirates fan.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh, of course, and I went to Venerable Saint Bonaventure University. 91% acceptance rate for everyone out there. But I went to that school, and they happen to have a good basketball team. Is it the big power conference? No, but it's the Atlantic 10, and they're going to make some noise in the tournament. I guess we'll talk about some of the
they're going
tournament this year.
dancing, I guess.
They are 10 seed now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, to give you guys a brief rundown of what we're going to be talking about today, kind of like last week, we'll get into a half hour of our NFL talk, and then we'll get into a 20-minute to half-hour talk about the NBA. Obviously, this is the All-Star break, so there wasn't much that happened this past week. So we'll get into a little bit of that talk, and then we're also going to get into it's March, so obviously the tournament, the NCAA basketball tournament is coming up. So that's going to be a majority of our topic, obviously with Father Sahd being a St. Bonaventure graduate. And then making the tournament. So we're going to be discussing all of that today, and then at the end, we're going to be answering some of your Instagram questions that you had for us, just as well as Father Sahd. So without further ado, Father Sahd, my first question of the day on behalf of Jacob and I for you would be, who do you think the Steelers are going to be taking in the draft?
Oh my gosh, who should they take? Well, they have a whole bunch of needs. Now, they re-signed Ben Roethlisberger this week, right?
Yep.
And I don't know. I don't think that was a good idea. I think they're kind of he's a great quarterback. He's probably the best player. To me, best player in the last 40 years. I think for the Steelers. But
Troy Polamalu, I might have something to say about that.
He's great. Troy Polamalu is great. But I'm telling you, the Steelers have had awesome defenses, and haven't had a quarterback until Roethlisberger came. Between Terry Bradshaw and there's been 40 quarterbacks there. And Roethlisberger was the difference. But the kind of offense has kind of stagnated behind Roethlisberger. He kind of calls the plays. It's all that kind of stuff. And I think they needed a refresh. But anyway, he's there. So what do they need? Offensive line?
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
Because they don't have
retired.
Yeah, Pouncey's gone.
Villanueva's probably out.
Yep.
And he should be. DeCastro's 60 years old.
Yeah, he's getting old.
And they have 2 other guys who they're going to need. They need offensive line. Yeah. They're looking at wide receiver. I saw, but they don't have a need there unless Juju Smith-Schuster leaves.
You guys still have a lot of receivers, even if he leaves. Rotational guys like Ray McLeod.
I'll be honest with you. I honestly feel like Juju is going to probably play his whole career in Pittsburgh.
I disagree with that.
I mean, they're going to give him a big deal. He's going to be there for a long time, especially considering that they're going to be bringing in a new quarterback. You don't want to be bringing in a new quarterback soon with a whole new receiving core. They're going to try to keep those guys there as long as possible, and they're young. Chase Claypool, Juju, Deontay Johnson, they're all young, and I feel like all 3 of those guys are going to play a majority of their career in Pittsburgh. Ben, obviously he's getting older. They need to protect him. Like you said, they need to target some offensive line help, especially with Pouncey retiring and those guys getting older. Villanueva's probably gone anyways. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. We had Dylan last week saying that he thinks that the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders. That's a bold take in my opinion. So I want to get your thoughts on that.
I mean, Big D is perhaps the smartest man I know, but I don't know about that. I mean, look at that. I look at the Steelers and I think we're getting passed by. we're kind of like the slower truck. We're like in the we're not in the passing lane like the Browns.
We're in the cruising lane.
We're cruising at 45. You know what I mean, with our lights blinking. Because like I just don't. I think you look at the Bengals with their quarterback situation. They're up and coming. They
need line too.
Their line is so bad.
And it got him. Hurt, he suffered the consequences.
Got his ACL torn. Yeah.
The Browns are in good shape. As we saw with the playoff game, and the Ravens are. So I don't see us as Super Bowl contenders. I think we're not that far away.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But I think you're a playoff team. But I think Super
potentially.
Bowl, yeah, I'd say like.
I don't think you're gonna win. I don't think you're gonna win the division next year.
I don't either.
I mean,
that's the Browns division. I think.
I don't know, bro. I think all four of those teams, other than maybe the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals. They're
not there yet.
But there's three of those four teams have a legit shot at winning that division.
I mean, it's one of the best divisions, probably aside from the NFC West with the Seahawks and all them. It's probably the best division in football.
It's going to be really tough, especially if Villanueva leaves, to bring in two new offensive linemen and have them gel with like their whole. This is Ben's last year, obviously. Probably his last year. I don't know what the contract was.
I think it's for 2 more years. Or 3
I don't see him playing out all of those years. This is probably Ben's last year. They're in a win now mode.
But they don't have the cap space to sign anybody.
That's the problem.
They're going to have to. And the thing is, Villanueva was not very good this year.
He regressed.
Yeah.
And so did DeCastro. And DeCastro is one of my favorite players. But so they're in a world of trouble, I think, up front. They're in a world of trouble on the D line, I think. So I just think that there's a lot of depth that needs to be addressed and starters, and I just don't know where they go. I would think offensive line.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of impending free agents too. Juju, you look at Alu on defense.
Bud Dupree.
James Conor, Villanueva.
James Connor's, I think, just about gone. I don't see a need to keep a running back.
The problem is, like we talked about this with Dylan last week. No running back is going to be successful there if they don't target offensive line help. I really don't. I don't see. James Conor was one of the best running backs in NCAA football when he was in college, and that might be a bold take for some. But I watched him play 4 years at Pitt. I had season tickets at Pitt when he was there. He was probably one of the best running backs in all of college football, despite going to Pitt. If he would have went to
exactly.
If he would have went to a bigger name school, then you probably would have been hearing about him, maybe possibly even in the Heisman conversation.
I don't know about that.
That's a bold take, but bro, come on. If Najee Harris this past year played at Pitt,
Najee Harris didn't win the Heisman.
He was in the Heisman conversation. That's my point. He was a finalist. Like he got way more publicity than James
Harris
Conner
is
ever
also
did.
just better than Conor.
They had the same kind of skill set.
No.
They were a power back in college. They did.
Okay, yeah, so Marshawn Lynch is a power back too. That doesn't mean James Conner and Marshawn Lynch are on the same
Marshawn
level.
Lynch is better than James Conner will ever be. But I'm not saying like James Conner I'm talking about in college, they were putting up similar statistics.
Well, how long ago was that?
Like
Conor
3 years ago.
college.
He's been a rookie for 3 years now. Or he's been in the NFL for 3 years now. So,
well, he's certainly not a power back now.
No,
because and I'll tell you, he is not durable at all.
No.
And so even though if he did come back and have a halfway decent season, I wouldn't resign him because he can't play half a season.
That's his problem.
He's just like a running back. Like he's just another running back. In my opinion,
he's average in the NFL. He's obviously average. He's average in every category statistically. He's not big. Like he is an average running back. He's as average as it gets in the NFL, and he's probably really replaceable, especially with not a guy like Najee Harris in the draft this year.
Or stick with Benny Snell.
I would stay with Benny.
Yeah.
I wouldn't draft a running back high. We have other needs. I think running backs you can get lucky with. Yeah. And if you, like you said, if you don't have a line, what are you going to do anyway? So.
Yeah, exactly. And Ben took a lot of hits this past season. He was under pressure a lot.
But he got the ball out quick.
Yeah.
And
they kind of switched up.
Fastest time to throw.
They kind of switched up. They kind of went to like an RPO offense, like
out
a
of necessity.
Yeah, so they went to like one of those quick pass offenses, and that obviously it worked. Other than drops, drops killed him. Obviously, Deontay Johnson and Eric Ebron,
which really tells you the need to re-sign Juju because he's really the only consistent guy that can catch the ball over the middle.
He's the leader of that.
Yeah,
he's one of the leaders on that team as a whole. He's probably the leader on that offense, other than Ben. He's the leader of that receiving core. He's the leader of that offense, like I said, other than probably Ben. But I don't know. I don't know where they go.
I don't think he resigns.
I don't either. I don't think they'll have the money to.
I didn't even know he was a free agent this year.
I think I can see him with the Jets. Honestly, they have a lot of cap room. Juju's a big name, TikTok star, big media, New York.
And what's he going to go? He'll go to the Jets, and he'll do like everything that everyone goes to the Jets ever does.
Le'Veon Bell.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that last week.
A new quarterback, we could see. New coach.
We talked about that. Okay, I'm going to say this one time, and this is a really, really bold statement. Sam Darnold is not as bad as everybody thinks.
I agree with that.
He's not.
I'm not a Sam Darnold fan.
I'm not a Sam Darnold fan. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the NFL, but he's definitely not as bad as everybody portrays him.
As a Dolphins fan, I pray to God the Jets keep him. Like, Father, can you please bless the Jets GM so that they keep Sam Darnold?
Would be traded, but like you said, I think it's going to be really, really tough to get a deal done.
I think the Jets should trade for him. You didn't trade Jamal Adams for nothing. I mean, you use those 2 first-round picks. You send the 2 picks you got from Seattle, you send Darnold and you send the 2nd overall pick. That might be Deshaun Watson right there.
The trade market though is like crazy.
Yeah.
What the Texans are gonna ask for a quarterback in his prime. I don't think there's ever been a trade like this before. For a quarterback like that.
Yeah, I mean quarterbacks don't ever get moved.
No, and
especially when they're like that
25 years old and a top 5.
You're trading the franchise.
Yeah.
This is huge. There's no way. They'd have to be asking number ones until you can, as far as you can.
The only comparable option would be Carson Wentz.
And that ain't
more
comparable.
Like Stafford.
Let me tell you that.
I don't know. I think it could have been had Wentz probably had some help. He probably would have had a better couple years. I mean, he definitely would have had better stats.
Right, he did have good stats, and
he had his good. Yeah, and that's because the year following, those guys
up front.
Well, they still made a run in the playoffs. They were a drop away from the NFC Championship the year after he tore his ACL, but those guys were never healthy at the same time. Plus, he got hurt. So, other than that, I don't know. I feel like the Steelers, they could go so many ways in the draft. It's
they have too many needs. Yeah. They should probably get it done on the line, but
I agree with you.
I would agree. I mean, there's really no cap room to go like get somebody.
No, and that's not their style. They don't get people. They do bargain basement searching anyway.
What do you feel about Bud Dupree? Like, you think they're going to re-sign him?
No, there's no chance. And
well, what would be like the other option? To draft a guy?
To draft a guy, they don't.
You got someone in the 3rd round last year. What's his name? Singleton. He does a decent enough job, I think. Because if you look at the defense around him, it's like elite at every other position. I don't think you need to emphasize.
I feel like Bud Dupree would come back pretty.
I don't know. He'd take a discount. That was his one really good year.
Okay.
He had good years. Yeah. But this was his stat year that I think stands out over and above everything.
Well, he got hurt.
Yeah. He did. But
that's why you take the big contract.
Yeah, I don't think you take the discount.
But he's coming off an injury. Like, that would lead you to believe he may take some sort of cut.
I would love it if he did.
At the same time,
I feel like market cut.
I honestly think Juju would come back on a cut. He would. Juju wants to stay in Pittsburgh. He does. I mean, that's
what he says.
And I mean, who wouldn't want to, like, the relationship he's been able to create with Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger, and that young receiving core. Especially like Chase Claypool and him making TikToks and all that. Obviously, it shows that how good of a relationship he has with each and every one of those guys. I feel like he would definitely come back and play for this year at least. Maybe if they were to franchise tag him for a discount, He would definitely probably.
I don't know. Him and Jamison Crowder could be making TikToks up in New York.
Oh my God.
Jamison Crowder is just like.
He's good.
He
is good.
He's old.
It's like 30.
He's almost done.
No.
I would retire if I played for the Jets and I was 30 years old. I would retire pretty soon.
The Jets, they're in our division, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as they are now 2 years from now. I mean, they have pieces for the future. They're starting to actually draft well.
Yeah, that's true.
They
that
actually
is
have
true.
a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam Gase was
terrible.
Might have been one of the worst coach.
Anthony Lynn has
I was
something to
going
say
to
about
say,
that.
okay.
But
I have
second worst is a fair statement. But
I have no idea how Gase lasted that long to begin with.
It's the Jets.
But like some of the stuff that he would like, he didn't care. He wouldn't. I saw a video of him literally like
someone in the second round, then cut him like 2 weeks later because he was late to a meeting or something. It was a defensive end out of Florida.
I saw a video of Adam Gase this year in a game. It was a close game. I think it was the Chiefs game, in like the first or second quarter, and he was sitting on the bench, like doing nothing. What kind of guy do you? What kind of who
sends a zero blitz at the Raiders?
I don't know. I just who. I have no idea.
Defensive coordinator the next day, shed the blame on him.
I have no idea how how he stayed that long, but one thing that would make the Jets a whole lot better would be Deshaun Watson.
One thing that would make any team in the league a lot better is Deshaun Watson.
But at the same time, I just don't see it. I don't see him going there.
I don't see him leaving the Texans, even though he wants to go and he might try to force the hand. I just can't see it benefiting the Texans.
I mean, his trade value is only going to go down from here.
But the Jets, they're not... A guy like that who is that good and has been that good since he was a rookie in the league, wouldn't you think he would want to go to a contender now? Why is he trying to go...
He's a smart
guy. To me, the Dolphins and the Panthers have potential to be contenders if he were to go there. The Jets are the worst team in the league. There's no...
Currently, but when you have...
Currently, no, the Jaguars are.
Well, they had the same... or one game off.
I mean, I couldn't see him going there because they're not a contender.
I don't know. The Jets have some decent pieces. Like Mekhi Becton in the first round last year is already a really good.
But that's one guy. That's one guy.
Well, that's one guy that I'm going to list. Jamison Crowder. And
no,
Rashad
I'm saying on the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean
they have one guy that I can name. I only know one guy, and it's Mekhi Becton on their offensive line. One guy.
I don't think I know. Greg Van Roten is another guy I know, but he's awful.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. I think. For Watson's sake,
$65 million cap room.
For Watson's sake, he should either stay in Houston, which
Houston's going to be the worst situation for him out of all the.
I could see him definitely going to Carolina. Definitely,
that's a really aggressive front office.
Yeah,
I think,
and I feel like they would do anything for him to come there.
Yeah, so. They're already talking about trading McCaffrey. Yeah,
and that's their best player, obviously.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about trading a guy like McCaffrey for Watson,
the best running back in the league, arguably,
but they're still going to have to give up multiple number ones. Yeah. Number ones.
Yeah.
It's to me. I don't know. I mean, it's a short-term move, not a long. You can't do it on a team.
In fairness, they're a young team, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
and if you bring Deshaun Watson in, that just makes your offense 100 times better.
I agree.
So they don't really need those first round. They're not going to need.
Yeah, and that's not true. The value of those picks.
Any team.
Well,
I shouldn't say they're not going to need them. Every team really
ask
could
the Texans if you need first round picks.
Every team could use a first round pick.
Ask the Redskins, who are constantly giving up their number ones. They haven't had a number one, and I can't remember. I think last year was the first year they had a number one. Year before.
One this year too.
They haven't had one, and look at their roster. There's no depth. I mean, it's a tricky.
It's a really good D line.
Yeah,
but
they have built that team around their defense, and they don't even have a quarterback.
They're going the San Francisco 49ers route. Mm-hmm. Build your D line.
Well, Jimmy G is better than nothing, or Taylor Heineke.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't even.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, if you build a pass rush that's so dominant, I mean, that's tough.
I'll give Washington all the credit in the world. Their defense was probably the best defense in the league. At one point in the season this year, they were rated the number 1 defense in the league. Like
I think last year was a lot of candidates for best defense. Like there was no one defense.
I would say the Rams, the Washington
Dolphins.
Dolphins had a good defense. Pittsburgh had a good obviously had a good defense. So I definitely, I mean,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Defensive Player of the Year.
We got a Dolphins fan sitting right here. You better be careful.
Last year.
TJ. Last year it should have been TJ. This year it should have been Xavier.
Well,
I would agree.
TJ Watt statistically had a better year last year than this year.
Statistically.
But he didn't have a better year than Donald last year.
Well,
he only had a better year than Donald.
Donald didn't win it last year.
But Gilmore. He still didn't have a better year than Donald last year.
Donald did lead the league in sacks last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, I just wanted to about you were mentioning the Los Angeles Rams. And I think, they have a good defense. I do think that Washington wouldn't have gotten where. I mean, they came on the cusp of winning that thing.
Winning the playoff game against the Bucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, think of how far they've come with nothing. I mean, like you said, Heineke, right?
Like with Dwayne Haskins.
Well, okay, I know what you're saying, but to be fair, every team in that division this past year sucked.
Right.
Everybody was like,
especially that team
played by shut up. Every team was like downfalled by injury. I mean, there was no like
downfall by quarterback.
That division came down to the last week of the season, and that's like it was one of the worst divisions in the league.
Right.
So,
but you can build with defense, and I think they did it a smart way, And Ron Rivera's a good coach.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's good for their front office. But I think that proves how you don't have a bunch of number 1s. They had some money, so they spent it. But I think you build on defense.
Yep.
And you can get if you can find a serviceable quarterback. I mean they had what. So I think it's possible. I don't think you need to go out and grab that star quarterback. I think it's awesome if you can. And a franchise quarterback comes around, and especially like Watson comes around once every 30 years. But
the thing about the quarterback position is like you can be as average as it comes. Jacob named the 49ers. Jimmy G is probably the most average quarterback in the league. And they're a successful team when everybody's healthy. When everybody's healthy. I mean, they weren't they were terrible this year because Sherman was out, Kittle, Jimmy G, Mostert, all of those guys missed time. But when they're all healthy, that team is good. I mean, that's a team that made it to the NFC Championship last year. And
the Super Bowl.
Defense.
Yeah, they went to the Super Bowl. But exactly,
it was defense.
It was all about defense and their rushing game.
And the run game.
Yeah, their rushing game was obviously the best in the league. And you can definitely build a team around an average quarterback by first of all, offensive line and defense.
That's so tough to do compared to just having an elite quarterback. Like, if you have an elite quarterback, your team is just automatically elevated. Like, defense, you have to keep and retain 7, 8, 9 key pieces on the defense versus one quarterback that just changes everything.
But the most, Phillip Rivers last year, the Indianapolis Colts had the best offensive line last year.
Oh, they were another defense.
He was probably, Jimmy G's average, Phillip Rivers is very average. And they made Phillip Rivers into, he played really well. Mm-hmm. He had a really good year. He led them to the playoffs. They were a game short of their division championship. So, I mean, like I said, you don't really need an elite quarterback as long as you, like you said, defense is the base of your team, like Washington. And then I don't know. I don't feel like Houston or I don't feel like Houston needs Deshaun Watson. They're gonna need Deshaun Watson. Any team needs
if they
Deshaun
trade
Watson,
Deshaun Watson, they could be in legit 0-16.
They're not good. They're not gonna be good this year. They have nobody.
No talent.
I'm not. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to name one guy in their offense next year.
Will Fuller's
he's
gone.
A free agent. He's
door.
Gone. Especially if Watson's gone. They got rid of Duke Johnson.
Who would their best player be? Laramie Tunsil?
David Johnson. David Johnson would probably be their best player.
And the best part is they hired the the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach from the Ravens to be their head coach.
Wide receivers coach.
Coach. And they have, I don't want to speak about Hollywood Brown, but their wide receivers
are horrible.
Have not been so great. So
neither is Hollywood Brown.
He's going to be the
Hollywood
mastermind.
Brown is good. He's the
when he catches the ball,
yeah, but
they don't need often.
Lamar Jackson's probably the best one of the best players in the league. Like they don't need a whole bunch.
He's a top 10 quarterback, but.
So moving on from that conversation, obviously big news broke this week about J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt, if you guys haven't seen, has recently signed with the Arizona Cardinals. I believe that happened on Tuesday.
Sounds right.
So, Father Sahd, first I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts on that whole
As a Steelers fan.
I got my hopes up.
Yeah, exactly.
We can come back and see the play with the brothers. Well, the one brother is a fullback for the Steelers, so they used him 6 plays this year.
That's
and
true.
he caught the ball 5 times, so really wasn't used as a fullback. I was kind of hopeful, but I knew that there was no cap space to do that and to do everything else they needed to do, even with restructuring Ben's contract. So, I think everyone was kind of realistic in thinking he wasn't going to come back. I was still disappointed. I saw him went to the Cardinals. But he got a good contract, a healthy size for his last couple of years.
I think it was a little too much.
I thought it was fine, 2 years.
It was probably fine, considering he's that good.
Mm-hmm.
But $31 million
over 2 years.
Oh my gosh!
And he also hasn't played.
Yeah,
he's
not. Yeah, he's injury prone. You're paying $31 million for a guy that they're not gonna be. I don't expect the Cardinals to be a contender.
They were a game out of the playoffs.
Of the playoffs, they're not gonna be going to the Super Bowl anytime soon, and he's not gonna be like that.
But you look at that team though. They need a guy, a veteran.
They need a D-line.
Especially on defensive line.
Their D-line was horrible.
Yeah, and I think it's not a bad move for a franchise like the Cardinals.
Oh, I liked it.
I think it makes sense for them.
It makes sense for them, but it was weird to hear. I don't know. I just didn't see that coming. I thought he was either going to be Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Those were probably the top 2.
I didn't think there was any shot he went to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh was... I feel like a part of me could have seen him taking a really, really low amount of money. He's a millionaire. He's played how many years in the league? He's made so much money. Who wouldn't want to go play with your 2 brothers? I feel like that would have probably been a good fit, especially they would have offered him probably a low amount of money, a bad contract for him. But I felt like he would have accepted it. I don't know, maybe they did offer him something, but especially Cleveland. I felt like Cleveland would have been
a good place.
Yeah.
Not that Arizona's a bad place.
It's just
they'll be in the playoffs next year.
It's an I don't know about that, but it's an uncommon team. They definitely have the pieces to be a playoff team. Mm-hmm. They were a game out of the playoffs. They just could never get over the hump. They lost to the 49ers in the last 2 weeks of the season.
I think the Bears aren't really gonna get too much better with their quarterback situation, and that was the team that was in above them. So.
Yeah, but in terms of wild card, probably. In terms of their division,
and teams get better. That is a young roster. Kyler Murray's going to get better.
They're all young,
Christian
but in terms,
but
Kenyon Drake's a free agent.
That's not a big deal to me.
Who would? Chase Edmonds is a good replacement. You're probably looking at Kyler Murray, Chase Edmonds, D-Hop,
Christian
Kirk, and then they had that one guy.
Isabella
he was hurt.
From UMass.
Yep, he was hurt. So they'll probably, obviously, he'll be coming back this year, and then Isaiah Simmons, J.J. Watt. Is Pat Pete coming back? Probably.
I think he'll come back. He's a free agent.
Yeah, he'll come back, and they
Hassan
need some
Reddick,
safety help. They need some safety help back deep, but
Buda Baker.
That's
a talented
they need somebody
roster.
to
The more we're talking about it, the more I'm thinking how talented their roster is.
D-backs aren't.
Other than
Buda Baker, they're terrible. They need some D-back help.
Byron Murphy was good.
Your D-backs look a lot better when you're a defensive line.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true.
So if you get pressure on the quarterback, those guys will hold up longer.
I think they could still go D-line again in the draft. That's 1 out of 3 or 4 pieces on the D-line right there, but I think you need more than just Watt on that D-line.
Speaking of the Bears, they just released Buster Screen. What are your thoughts on that, Jacob?
I don't care. I do not care.
All right. I'll be honest.
Buster Screen.
Buster Screen's old. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Look up his stats from last year. Did he play?
Yeah, he played. He was good. I watched him. He was not bad. One more part that I want to touch on in this segment, guys, is Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon recently joined the video game league. Father Sahd, I don't know if you've heard about this video game league.
No.
But it is like...
It's a league where Johnny Manziel and Josh Gordon beat around for 20 minutes and then go get drunk.
It's like a 50-yard... It's like a 50-yard field, right? And then like fans...
so excited.
Fans call the plays. It's like Madden. Literally like Madden. Fans call the plays.
It's a fan-controlled football
league.
League.
And then the teams run the plays that the fans call. And like, I saw a video last week... Johnny Manziel had like a game-winning touchdown run, and it was because like one of the receivers messed up the route. It was supposed to be like a mesh play, and one of the receivers ran the wrong route, so Manziel just took off and like scored. But Josh Gordon, you know Josh Gordon, right?
Absolutely. He and Manziel got together from the Browns from the good old days.
Oh yeah.
No.
He recently joined. Is he on Manziel's team?
Do they have drug tests in that league?
I was gonna say
it's literally like it's so funny. Like when I see videos of it, it is literally hilarious. There's not a bench. Like there's no like sideline or bench. The guys are literally on the field, like that aren't playing. They're in the back of the end zone. Like it is like crazy.
It's like a backyard football league.
Yeah, it is. It is so funny to watch. I'm not even sure there's 11 guys. So that wraps up our NFL talk for the week. We are now going to get into some NBA talk, along with some March Madness talk. If you haven't heard about Anchor yet, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free and there's no charge. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more music apps.
You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'll ever need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started on your podcast today.
So, we are halfway through the NBA season. It is currently Sunday, March, I believe, 7th. And that marks the NBA All-Star Game. So, in about 4 or 5 hours, you're going to have the NBA All-Star Game. I don't really like the format this year. It's kind of weird. They're doing like the 3-point contest and the skills challenge before the game, and then at halftime the dunk contest.
That's actually so I like the dunk contest at halftime. That's kind of
they should always do the dunk contest Saturday night. That is like the thing to do. Why? No.
It would have helped us because we could have talked about it.
Now there's gonna be like a 2-hour halftime. Like it's gonna be. Like,
Why does it matter?
But it's gonna be the dunk contest. It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's just
they shouldn't have even had it in the first place. But.
Oh yeah, that's another. If you guys haven't heard, Joelle Embiid and Ben Simmons have recently been in contact with
a first round exit.
It was whatever. I believe it was a barber for the Sixers who tested positive for COVID. And Joelle Embiid and Ben Simmons have recently been sent home from the All-Star Game to quarantine, and they are not going to be participating in the All-Star Game tonight.
Zion starting now.
I believe the replacement for Joelle Embiid is Zion, and I'm not sure if there's anybody else replacing like Simmons as a reserve or anybody. So, I'm not sure what you're saying, a first-round exit. We're the 1 seed right now. The Heat are sitting at the 5 or 6 seed.
The Heat are the current Eastern champions. Okay.
No one has taken the Eastern championship and you have probably the 6th seed locked up right now.
We are going to be the 4th seed.
In the playoffs, and we're going to be the 1 seed. So why are you talking?
Because we are the current Eastern champions, and
that doesn't mean anything to me.
First round.
We went into the playoffs last year without arguably our best player.
Yeah, that's what's happened to us in the regular season this year.
Okay, but I mean,
you gotta find ways to win. The Celtics still would have beaten.
Gotta find ways to win. Probably. No, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It definitely wouldn't have been
with your roster last year. Yeah,
definitely wouldn't.
It wouldn't have been a sweep.
Oh yeah, definitely with probably the roster last year, considering Tobias Harris had a terrible year. And he was our second best player in the playoffs with Simmons out. like I just said, Simmons was out. Shake Milton was a starter at that point. We had no shooting, no Seth Curry, no Danny Green.
A lot of Al Horford.
Yeah, Al Horford was a starter. Our roster format was terrible last year.
Elton Brand.
Elton Brand recently hired Daryl Morey before the season, and Daryl Morey is the guy that's been making all the moves, and I'm glad he's in Philly. With that being said, we're gonna get into some trade talk. The first guy I want to mention in trade talk is Kyle Lowry.
I mean,
I
don't think they'll move him. I just don't.
The Sixers have everything the Raptors would want for him. I feel like the Sixers have some reserves. They have some. No, I feel like Mike Scott, Danny Green.
Oh my God, they're not trading their franchise.
The Raptors are on the downfall. They're gonna
so they're gonna want young players. Not Mike Scott,
Terrence Ferguson, Tony Bradley Jr. are two young guys. They're in their mid 20s. Mike Scott is a vet, but if you that's a vet and two vets, Danny Green, Mike Scott, replacing one vet in Kyle Lowry. All of their salaries match Kyle Lowry's salary just about. I feel like that would be a really good trade. Especially with the Raptors.
For you guys.
Well, the Raptors are on the downfall. They're probably not going to be a contender this year. I'm not even sure they're going to make the playoffs. And the Sixers are competing for a championship this year. This is the Sixers' year. They need to do anything they can to get one more piece around Embiid and Simmons and Harris.
Kyle Lowry for...
if they bring in Kyle Lowry
for a bag of chips would be nice, but that's not going to happen.
Joelle Embiid, Ben Simmons... Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, and Seth Curry. That lineup is unstoppable other than the Nets. But the Nets are never going to be healthy. Those five guys that I just mentioned are typically... I shouldn't say they're typically healthy.
Yeah.
But in the past couple of years, they haven't had as many injuries as the Nets guys have.
I think the Nets will be fine come playoff time.
They don't
really need to play their players now. They don't...
I'm not saying they need to. It just goes to prove that they're never healthy. They're never healthy. They have played. We are now.
Well, because they're out for the stupidest reasons. Kyrie's out because he's doing Japanese meditation. That's not going to happen during the playoffs.
2.5 months out of where the trade occurred, and obviously that's not what he was doing.
Mental health days. That's not going to happen.
Mental health days is leaving your team, basically giving up on your team and not telling them where you went.
Not going to happen in the playoffs.
I'm not, bro. He still missed games because of injury.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant's missed games because of injury. They all have. The most healthiest person on that team, or out of the big three, is James Harden, who has literally missed so much time in the last couple years due to injury. He is probably one of the most injury-prone guys in the NBA, and he's the healthiest of those three. That's just not... It's not going to make for... they don't really need camaraderie because those guys score at will. You don't need camaraderie when you're that good. But with that being said, when it comes to crunch time and you're still giving up 130 points a game...
But you're scoring 140.
You're not going to win every game.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, they're scoring 140, but that's not going to happen every night. Especially when, when you go into a 7-game series against a team, they are going to be watching film. They're going to be studying you more than they ever would have.
Defense matters more in the playoffs, but
and
it's not like guys like Durant or
those
Durant's
guys
a good defender.
But there's going to be teams that they're going to see in the playoffs that are going to find ways to slow them down because they're going to be able to.
I don't know how you slow that team down.
You watch more film. They're not going to...
Durant, even guys like Joe Harris.
I don't...
He's a top 5 shooter in the league coming off the bench for that.
But there's...
Or is he starting? I don't know.
Teams are going to be able to study them more and throughout the 7-game series than they have when you're playing them once.
No, I know what you mean, but...
it's
still Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden.
Those three guys are 3 of my favorite players in the NBA. And Father Sahd, I don't know if you watch much NBA, but those 3 guys are easily probably the best 3 players. Not the best 3 players.
3
of the best players.
3 top 15 players.
And it upsets me to think that the Sixers could be caught up with them like in the playoffs because this is our year. Like this is the Sixers' year. This is the Sixers' year. Yeah, but they're gonna be in some dogfights. I'm not saying they're not, but they're just like they're too good of a team. Like they have beaten every team.
Teams like the Heat and teams like the Celtics, I think have the potential to come around back to their last season form.
The Celtics are struggling, and it's
currently, yeah. But if they sneak into the playoffs,
it's not going
as a 6,
to be
7, 8 seed.
The difference between the Heat and the Celtics is that the Celtics have been healthy, and they're still bad. They still have been bad.
Yeah. The
Heat have been missing Butler. All of those guys have missed time, and they're finally coming together. Like that's the difference between those two teams. I feel like I hate the Celtics, so I never like. It never upsets me to see them struggling.
I would just worry about, I don't know. I would not want the Celtics to be the 8 seed if I was you guys. That's all. That is the one.
I don't either. I mean, the Celtics would be a tough first round matchup.
I'm
hoping it's probably going to be like the Bulls or the Magic. Even the Bulls are still going to be a tough matchup. But dude, those guys are young. But the only thing that, in my opinion, would slow us down at this point is injury. And as long as we can stay healthy, I don't see anybody in the... We've beaten the Lakers, we've beaten the Jazz, who are the best team in the West. Best team in the NBA, actually. The Suns, we probably would... Embiid didn't play in that game. We probably would have beat them in that game. We have stayed close to every team. Like, all of our losses have come because we're without one of our starting 5. We've lost one game with our starting 5. Like, I think
what the Sixers are doing with their roster right now is fine. I don't really think you guys need to make a trade.
They need to make a trade. They definitely need to make a trade.
I'm not a big
their
fan of
bench has been horrible. Their bench has been horrible.
You guys are known for your depth, too. It's not even...
But there's no depth because the bench has been so bad. There's nobody coming off the bench that's scoring. Like, Shake Milton's been average, and he needs to be better than average.
Guys like Shake, guys like Matisse Thybulle, guys like Max.
Thybulle has been, like, insane in terms of defense. He's one of the best defenders in the... He has literally, like, portrayed himself as one of the best young defenders in today's game.
Yeah, I mean, that's just...
But that's his, like... Yeah, that's what he does. He plays defense. He's not a known scorer. Maxey hasn't even been seeing the kind of minutes that he once was. He's not even... I don't even think he played.
Maxey for Lowry.
He didn't even play. Sure. Yeah, like, that's a possibility. But he didn't even play in the last game. Like, those guys aren't seeing minutes. Shake Milton, he needs to be more than average. Like, he's an average player at this point in the season.
Dwight Howard's been really good off.
Dwight Howard does his job. I mean, that's all you can ask of a guy that is 37, 30... Or he's like 35.
Yeah.
A guy that's 35 years old, backing up the best center in the game, all you can ask is that he comes in and gets rebounds. I mean,
he does. He's been statistically...
And he's been more than that.
He's been statistically one of the best rim protectors in the league.
He's done... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's done more than just come in and rebound. He's been a really, really good player for us. Korkmaz has been giving us some decent minutes as of late, but like I'm saying, like nobody on our bench is coming off and like
being you just rattled off a few good players off the bench right there.
Yeah, but that's what you think. They haven't been that good this year, is what I'm saying. Like they need to be better than what they have been. And like there's nobody that is striking me as a 6th man of the year kind of player. Like, there's nobody in that conversation.
I don't know if you need that, though.
You don't, but there's nobody, like, even remotely, like, close to that.
I'd rather have the 7th and 8th man of the year awards than just the 6th man, because you need more than one guy off the bench.
That's true, but they're not getting any. I mean, like I said.
I mean,
I love Shake Milton. Shake Milton last year was one of our best players. I mean, he emerged as a starter after Simmons went down. And, like, he was one of the Sixers' best scorers, one of the Sixers' best players in general. And this year, he's taken kind of a step back so far this year. So what I'd like to see coming out in the second half is kind of, like, being more, like, consistent on the bench. Like, the bench coming off and giving us some more consistent minutes and, like, scoring. And I just, like, the one thing that the Sixers didn't need was a break. In my opinion. So I'm hoping that...
One thing the teams like the Heat or the Celtics Teams
that
are more talented than their record.
They needed a break.
break.
But the Sixers, Sixers, Jazz, Suns, Lakers, those guys, they didn't need one, and that's why. So I'm hoping that doesn't rattle them, I guess. So, with that being said, we're gonna go into. I don't know if you guys saw, but on our Instagram account, we had some fan voting for the better players. I believe it was like a bracket/tournament kind of thing. So I'm going to be pulling that up. Father Sahd, you said you like the Sixers, right? You said you.
I'll watch them if the only NBA game I tune into would be the Sixers.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
that's right.
Did you tune into their first round exit last year?
I mean,
shut up. I can't stand when people bring that up because we were without
Get the
Simmons.
brooms out.
We were without Simmons.
Peyton,
When you go up against Gordon Hayward, Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, those kind of guys, and you're without your best player, you're not gonna win.
Yeah, right, and I agree with that. But here's the thing: you're talking about how they only have a 5-man bench. They only have a 5-man rotation.
They really do, yeah.
Well, and you talked about all the games they lost was because they were short.
Yeah.
They couldn't get count on anyone off the bench. Well, that seems to me a big problem.
That's
this
what
is
I'm
a long
saying.
season.
They need some bench help. That's definitely one thing I would target before the trade deadline. And I believe the trade deadline is March 25th.
So get to this poll. I'm interested to see these responses.
All right. So our first tournament, I guess, our first matchup was Bradley Beal versus Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal won that.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
No, he. Versus Mitchell. I thought he just said Embiid. No, I agree with that.
I do too. Our next matchup was Joelle Embiid and Zach Levine. Joelle Embiid won that. Obviously, there's not really anybody here that's disagreeing with that. I don't think maybe.
Bulls fans, I don't see any.
Okay, I don't even think Bulls fans could argue that.
Nah, they do. Spencer.
If any Bulls fan came up to me and said Zach Levine's a better player than Joel Embiid, get out of my face, you're tripping. Our next matchup, Jason Tatum and Paul George. Jason Tatum took that one.
Garbage. That's so stupid.
Well, Jason Tatum's a better player.
No, he isn't.
Yes, he is.
Paul George
has had a more successful
Paul
career.
George is like the Michael Thomas of the NBA. He just gets slammed because he was awful. He was awful.
Okay, because Jason Tatum's beats him in a tournament on an Instagram poll.
No,
doesn't mean that Paul George is a bad player.
He's not. I'm talking about the narrative around Paul George that he sucks because he was bad. I have
Jason Paul George is one of the best players in the league in my opinion, but Jason Tatum's better.
That's not what people think of him. They just pull up. They see one shot of him hitting the side of the backboard. And all of a sudden he's garbage.
All right, our next matchup. Chris Paul and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis won.
Nothing much to talk about there.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about that. Nikola Jokic and Brandon Ingram. Jokic won that. No arguments from me. Any comments? Jalen Brown and Devin Booker. Devin Booker took that one.
That one was probably the closest one of the first round.
That's a little controversial, but I would definitely say Devin Booker.
Yeah. Booker's better, but it's close. And Brown will be better than him in a couple years.
Booker won that. LeBron and Jimmy Butler. LeBron won that.
Tough. Tough first round matchup for Jimmy right there.
That's true.
I think he won the whole poll.
And then our last matchup on that side of the bracket is Malcolm Brogdon and James Harden. James Harden won that. No arguments from me on that one. On the other side of the bracket, we got Zion Williamson and KD. KD won that. No arguments from me there. Damian Lillard and Pascal Siakam. Damian Lillard won that. No arguments from me.
I was Bam not on this. Bam's better than all these players, bro.
Luka Doncic and Julius Randle. Luka Doncic won that. No argument from me. Domantas Sabonis and Fred VanVleet. Sabonis won that one. Agreed again. CJ McCollum and Giannis. Giannis won that one. Kyrie Irving and Karl Anthony Towns. Kyrie took that one. Kawhi Leonard and Trae Young. Kawhi Leonard won. And Steph Curry and Nikola Vucevic. Steph Curry won. So on that first round, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with
one of those.
I don't think I disagree with any of them. All right, so now we're getting into the second round. So in our second round, we had Joel Embiid and Bradley Beal. Joel Embiid took that one. No argument from me on that one either. We had Jason Tatum and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis took that one. That's a little controversial.
Over who?
Over Jason Tatum.
That's not controversial at all.
I don't know. Jason Tatum's good, dude. He's an elite player. He's good.
I wouldn't say
he's been better than Anthony Davis the last year. In the last year or two.
No.
I don't know how you.
Anthony Davis is arguably a top 5 player in the league.
Okay.
He just is.
All right, Nikola Jokic and Devin Booker. Jokic won that one. I would agree. Yeah. LeBron and James Harden. LeBron won that one. Yeah. Kevin Durant and Dame Lillard. Kevin Durant won that one.
No arguments there.
Luka Doncic and Domantas Sabonis. Luka Doncic won that one. Giannis and Kyrie. Giannis won that one. That's a solid matchup. And then Kawhi Leonard and Steph Curry. And Steph Curry won that one. Oof, that's
Easy Curry.
Probably, yeah. All right, so that sums up our second round. Going into our third round now. We had Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis. Joel Embiid won that one. Yes, sir. Nikola Jokic and LeBron. LeBron won that one. Kevin Durant and Luka Doncic. Kevin Durant won that one. And Giannis and Steph Curry. Steph Curry won that one.
I'm so proud of our followers for voting Steph Curry over Giannis.
I don't know, bro. That's
not like a decision for me. It's...
All right, going into our semifinal round. Joel Embiid versus LeBron. LeBron won that one. All right, no comment on there. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. Kevin Durant won that one. So
no disagreements there.
LeBron and Embiid. You took LeBron over Embiid.
Yeah, you do take LeBron over Embiid.
Whatever. All right, our championship. LeBron and Kevin Durant. I do not believe a champion has been crowned yet. Okay, we have our manager, Jason Weaver, right here next to me saying LeBron won the bracket. So LeBron won over Kevin Durant. Oh, yeah, he texted me, but I did not see
I mean, LeBron still is the best player in the league based on pure impact. I mean, the Lakers go from weird team with
In today's game, you're telling me that LeBron is having a better season or
he is a better player than... Yes. He's the most impactful player in the NBA, and that's not going to change.
Do you have a headache, Peyton, or something going on?
I just don't know. I just don't know how you can argue 1 year of Embiid, like...
1 year? He's been good for 3 years.
He would have lost in
They don't win without him.
If this poll was last year, Embiid would have been like a second-round exit in this poll.
They don't win without... That is not true at all.
So the Lakers would win without LeBron?
No, but they have nobody else other than Anthony Davis, who has been hurt a lot this year.
Exactly, and they won the finals.
Okay, whatever. But you can't tell me... Alright, whatever. Embiid has had a really good year for the last 3 years.
That's why he made it to the semifinals.
Obviously, LeBron's had a more successful career. He's probably I wouldn't even know... I couldn't even say he was like a better player. He's probably not even as impactful as Joel Embiid is in terms of their team.
Yeah,
It was just bound to end this way when it came up that he wasn't going to win. So it was just bound to end this way. That it was going to be a lot of crying, a lot of hysterics and everything.
Jimmy Butler lost in the first round, and
there was no argument. You were just
because he went up against LeBron.
Who did Embiid go against?
Joel Embiid.
Who did Embiid go against?
I don't even know, but it was
somebody. LeBron. That's what we've been talking about.
It's bound to end this way. That's all.
Sixers fans are never happy until they get the MVP Sixth Man of the Year.
No, my point is like you love LeBron so much that you're willing to defend him against your...
No, he's just the best player in the league, and that's not going to change.
Okay, whatever.
It's like
he's the most successful player.
It's like the NFL.
Yeah, of course he's the best player He's not the best player in today's game.
We all know Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the NFL. He's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
4 years ago, LeBron was the best player in the league.
He is currently the best player in the league.
2 years ago, he's the best player in the league. He's not better this year than Embiid.
Yes, he is.
Then why is Embiid the front runner for MVP? He's having
because
more better stats.
The Sixers are having a breakout year. Embiid's reaching his full potential.
Okay, then why are you telling me that LeBron's having a better year?
Because he's not more impactful. If you just look at the stats.
No, he's not. The Sixers haven't won without Embiid. They've won one time without him.
The Lakers don't have that issue because LeBron plays every game.
Okay, that's not what I'm saying. The question isn't who's healthier. The question is who is having a better year this year. And it's Joel Embiid. There's a reason he's number one. There's a reason he's number one in MVP.
You also don't base this off of one half of a year. Like, it's best players, not best season.
Okay, then why are you telling me that LeBron's having a better year than Embiid so far?
Because he is.
No, he's not. Every category statistically, Joel Embiid is having a better year than LeBron.
Statistically, he's better. But
so why are you telling me that he goes off of stats? Why are you
No, it doesn't. It goes off of impact.
Okay, the Sixers have won one game without Embiid on the floor.
Yeah,
LeBron's team has had they have 13 losses, and LeBron's been on the floor for all of them. So why are you trying to tell me that
Embiid's been on the floor for Sixers losses too?
One or I think it was two. Two Sixers losses Embiid's been on the floor for. So don't tell me that Embiid's not having a better year than LeBron. So if you guys didn't hear, the Atlanta Hawks and the Minnesota Timberwolves have recently fired their head coaches this past week. The Hawks firing Lloyd Pierce and the Wolves firing Ryan Saunders. Those are two teams that are basically in the middle of a rebuild. They are having horrible seasons.
I mean, those are both good and expected firings, especially in Minnesota.
The Hawks, is weird because I think he's been there since Trae Young.
Yeah.
Trae Young obviously being their best player.
They're in a weird spot with guys like John Collins. He's been
Cam Reddish.
Collins has been on the trade block for a year.
I don't know, man. They're not. Both of those teams are.
Maybe they'll replace him with Blake Griffin. Who knows? Or maybe he'll come down to Miami. We'll see. He's probably going to Brooklyn if we're being realistic, but.
Who wouldn't want to go to Brooklyn right now?
Yeah. I don't think it's a good fit, but it's also Brooklyn, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so that sums up our NBA talk. I had to cool off for a couple minutes.
I had to pick the blood off the floor. You
Holy bias.
I don't know. You can call me biased all you want, but I would be saying the same thing if it were Kawhi Leonard or somebody else that I'm not a fan of. Right. I would be saying the same kind of thing.
Michigan's looking good this year.
So, that ends...
I'm glad you used the time to cool down.
Yeah, that ends the NBA talk. We're going into the March Madness talk now. I'll be honest with you, I have not followed much college basketball other than maybe the last 2 weeks. I've watched a lot.
I followed a little. It's not like...
Let me ask you a question. When you fill out a bracket...
Yeah.
Which conferences do you always okay... I don't know much about this team, but I'm gonna have them win in a good deal of games. And which conferences do you say these guys are gonna go out?
Big Ten is the one.
Big Ten. That's the one. And you always get. I was gonna say screwed. You always get messed up when Michigan State always goes far, but they might not even make the tournament this year.
Or Wisconsin, or somebody like that.
Wisconsin, because they play good defense.
They're always a solid. They're like the Virginia kind of.
They'll keep their opponents to 45 points and win a game or two. So they're surprises, but for the most part, the Big Ten takes a you know what. I mean it's
dump. Yeah.
I mean I didn't say that, but but see, and then the SEC too. They're always ones that I guess Alabama
is good.
Won the SEC. I'm not buying that they're going to win 2 games in the tournament. Not a chance.
I haven't even heard of Alabama.
I know they're good. I don't know.
I believe the ACC is probably the best conference.
That's blasphemy with how Duke and North Carolina.
UNC.
They still got Virginia. They still got Virginia. Virginia Tech's going to make the tournament. Virginia's going to make. Virginia won the.
Virginia lost to a 16 seed.
It's their.
Okay, that doesn't really.
No, because it's the way they play. They play slow. They take care of the ball.
They just beat.
And they take possession of the game. And when that doesn't happen, they lose.
Mm-hmm. They just beat Florida State.
Florida State's good, yeah.
Florida State lost to Notre Dame yesterday, and Notre Dame, I think, has 2 conference wins. So the ACC, I don't know.
It's weird. It's weird for football, too.
You know what's, annoying, though? Duke and North Carolina, it came down to yesterday to, see, if Duke was going to make it or not. And they got, 12 losses. How can a team they have 11 losses. They're a 500 team right now.
Because they're Duke.
Exactly.
But that's, Pitt probably is, close to them in terms of, record. But, they probably have, I think Pitt has, 13, 14 losses. So they probably have, 13. But, that's, still...
Miami has a few more than that, but...
It's annoying how, Duke gets to, stay in the conversation. They had a terrible year. They're not going anywhere in the tournament.
They're not going to the tournament.
Their best player, Jalen Johnson, gave up halfway through the season.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hurt's their best player now.
Well, yeah.
But
Jalen Johnson...
I think Hurt will be good in the pros.
Hurt? Well, he's a three... Yeah,
he
any three-point shooter that's going to be coming into the draft is going to be good. Yeah, especially if they go to Philly, because they need shooting.
Every team needs shooting. There's no team in the league that would turn down shooting.
Other than, the Jazz, who make,
they would still...
The Jazz shot 49% from 3 the other night.
Was that against Sixers?
Yes. It's that is absurd. Yeah. But, we'll talk about Colin Gillespie tearing his MCL. He's done for the season. No, I believe it was his MCL. I read it yesterday. But he is done for the season. He's a starting point guard for Villanova. Obviously, that's a huge hit. Villanova has been, struggling as of late. They lost to Providence yesterday. So, I don't know. I don't know. There's really not a defined top. There
hasn't been for a few years.
And this is worse.
Gonzaga, in my opinion, my top three. My top three would be...
I don't buy Iowa. I do not buy Iowa.
My top 3 would be 1 Gonzaga, 2 Illinois, and 3 Baylor.
The toughest part about all this is...
I think
Michigan's probably 5, and then Iowa would be 4. Huh?
West Virginia?
Yeah,
Michigan beat them, right? Or am I capping? I don't know.
I think the toughest thing is these guys played basically their conference. And they didn't play out of conference. So you can't really measure up. You can only measure up how they've done in their conference.
Especially Gonzaga. That's the problem with Gonzaga every year.
Yes,
they play in a horrible conference.
St. Mary's is the only team they play with that's tough. And I don't think St. Mary's is any good this year. So,
I mean, that's absurd. How do you take away teams how do you take away opportunities for teams like Baylor or Illinois? Illinois has beaten... Michigan was ranked number 2 this past week, and Illinois went to Michigan and beat them by 20. And we just said how Michigan was having a pretty good season. And Illinois went into their place and beat them by 20. I mean, Illinois is a very, very well-coached basketball team that has, they have their hustlers.
It's the best they've been since Darren Williams.
They love, I watched them yesterday. That game that I said they beat Michigan by 20, they were without their best player. And I believe he was having a face contusion or something.
I don't know what that means, but
he had something wrong with his face. But he was wearing a mask.
I know a bunch of people like that.
Yeah, he came back yesterday and he dropped a 20 piece and they won by a big amount. But he is their team is just good, and they're well coached. Like I said, Ohio State. I don't know.
And all these Big Ten teams we're naming are going to be third round exits, third round exits.
I have no idea who's going to go far.
That's why the tournament is the best. That's why that's the best playoff to me.
Yes,
is the NCAA tournament because you get the teams
besides the WNBA playoffs.
That is,
bro. Yeah, true.
I think I do think that it is the best because. It's the most unpredictable. The NBA, is going to hold chalk for, the first. There's hardly ever any upsets in the NBA playoffs.
Well, the 5 seed did some damage in the East.
There's only 8
I think I remember that.
But there's only 8 teams in the playoffs for each conference. There's not 64.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
And that's why I think it's one game. It's one shot. So that's why, to me, it's the best tournament because we don't know. And no one has any idea how any of these teams are. Because, who has the time to watch all these teams? So.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I don't know, like, Kansas sucked this year. And
so
they
did
were
Kentucky,
like,
so did Duke.
Yep, Kentucky, obviously Duke. Like those teams were struggling at some
The Blue
points.
Bloods really they got hurt, and there's an investigation into a lot of those teams.
Well,
Arizona
Calipari's always been dirty.
Yeah, but Arizona as well. There's been an investigation, and I think some of them may hit some hard times. So I don't know. It's kind of nice that there's parity in the NCAA.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys like heard this story, but the Creighton coach, he got in trouble this past week for making some comments to his team. So I just want to like make a statement on behalf of all of us. Like, we don't condone that by any means. So I don't know if you've watched any like Creighton. I don't know if they're any good. They're in that Big Ten with Villanova.
Yeah, they're up there. I think they're like they might be the second seed in that conference. So I think that could. I mean, and he's going to get suspended at least for some of the conference tournament. I think so. That's a big hurdle for them to overcome. Of course, I believe they're in the tournament.
Right.
But that's gonna hurt them.
I mean, I don't like I said. I'm not sure when does the tournament even start. Because there's the conference tournaments are this week. Yeah.
And then the tournament will start next. They changed it from Thursday to Friday, which stinks. But I always love that Thursday.
Yeah.
It's kind of the start of spring.
You watch like every game. Like,
it's some people in school. I mean, not that I know of any that would watch the games. During the school day. But now
never.
Now it's Friday.
Don't let Miss Pissionary find out.
Well, she won't now. Don't worry. But I guess it's Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday and Monday. Which is kind of nice, but I love those first 2 days from Thursday, Friday. It was so nice.
Yeah, I mean, I loved like watching the games on my phone.
Just like the memories of like 6th grade English class, our teacher just like putting it on, just like stuff like that on a Thursday.
St. Teresa's.
But Father, I want to ask you. We're gonna get into like 5 minutes of baseball talk. I just want to bring.
Man.
I mean,
we can
Jacob
talk UFC for 5
baseball,
minutes if you want.
But like, what is your outlook on the Pirates?
The Pirates are terrible. I was just watching a game this afternoon as I was about to come over here, a spring training game. Like, I don't know. And I know it's spring training, so they're trying a bunch of guys out, but like they really are trying guys out. It's terrible. They're terrible. I was reading the NL Central, and the problem is they don't have a chance. Okay, I'm not saying they do, but the NL Central. The talent that has left the NL Central this year, I just saw 44 wins above replacement have left the NL Central, and they've gained 6 wins above replacement. So it's not just the Pirates either.
Yeah.
Because they really, as good as those players were, they still aren't the cream of the crop. But there's been a lot of outflow from that division. So anybody who adds, like the Cardinals, anyone who adds is really, really putting themselves above. But still, I think I looked at the projections. Cardinals are the favored, but they still have a projected record under 500. So anybody has a shot in that division, except for the Pirates.
Is that the NFC East of baseball?
It is the NFC East, or the old NFC West, what it used to be. But
the new NFC East is about to be good.
Yeah, they've been saying that for several years.
They gotta find some quarterbacks in that.
Got a lot of young talent. There's a guy that wears number 2 in Philly that's pretty good.
Okay.
All right.
That division has to find 3, and if Dak leaves, maybe 4 quarterbacks.
They're not. I think the Eagles should be fine.
Fine isn't good enough at quarterback.
It is if you're Jimmy G. But anyways, Father.
Well, I want to have a question.
Yeah.
As a Pirates fan, I love baseball. I love going to baseball stadiums because the Pirates have the finest baseball stadium in the country. Now, I there's Camden Yards was the best. It was the best, and now whatever PNC Park is the best. Going to that dump in Philadelphia, Citizens Bank Park. It's nice, but like you go and you sit in the left field bleachers and you look down and you cannot see most of left field. Why is that?
I have no idea.
It is I have never gone to a baseball stadium that like a new construction where you go and you can't see a good bit of a portion of the field. It's unbelievable. I have never seen anything like it in my life.
Philly architecture.
It is Philly.
But I don't I've sat in those seats one time. Like I've been to like 20 Phillies games in my life. I've sat in those like left field seats like one time, but I was like fairly close, so I could like see everything. But I mean, there's like a limited amount of seats in that section out in the left field.
Well, it's a complete disaster. I paid good money for those seats. I had to stand up to look and see what was going on there. But
I've been to PNC.
What's your favorite state? What's your favorite baseball stadium to go to?
I've been to two. I've only been to
Okay.
two. I've been to Citizens Bank Park and I've been to PNC Park.
Well,
and
clearly PNC Park.
PNC Park is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
there's not like
With football, when we went to the University of Pittsburgh and did that 7-7 tournament.
You were with us there?
Yeah, bro, that was my freshman year.
That was we went to go see a game. But PNC I have been to I want to say 6 Phillies games at PNC Park, and I love it there. I've sat like along the foul pole. I've sat along the like behind the plate, but up a little further. Like I've had some really good seats there. I would probably say the best park that I've been to out of those two would be PNC. Citizens Bank Park is like it doesn't like PNC, like you can see the city in the back. Like it's not
Maybe
like
it's
that.
for the best you can't see Philadelphia. I'm just joking. But,
Skyline.
You can't see the cars burning.
The skyline in Philly is gorgeous.
It is. It's
There's
a beautiful
nothing
city.
that I like. If I had to go if I had a choice to go to any city, like inner city, it would be Philly. And I mean, like the good part.
Sorry, I was drinking water.
The good part, like William Penn, like that.
Philly's a great
I'd
city.
probably pick
Broad Street.
I'd probably pick like Baltimore, honestly.
You
inner city.
You go along like shut up. You go along like
Compared
Broad
to
Street.
Philly.
Like I've been into Center City once, and it was for the parade, Super Bowl parade, and it was awesome. I mean,
No, Philly's a great city.
it would never be like that like again because there was like 3 million Eagles fans there, and I mean like that's like what I loved about it.
You do?
It'll never be like that again because there will never be a Super Bowl parade in Philly ever again.
Probably not in my lifetime, but
I mean, you never know.
I don't know. They built that roster in like 2 years.
Yeah,
I mean
but
could happen.
It also collapsed in 2 years.
At least we got a Super Bowl out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I remember sitting here like with my dad, and we were both saying like, we don't care what they do for the rest of our lives. At least we saw a Super Bowl, and that was like the worst thing to ever say. It's like I have no idea what's gonna happen. I just want the Sixers, or I want another Philly team to just win, so I could go back down there again, because that was like the best time.
The Flyers good.
The Flyers they're having a decent year.
I thought they were
Do you watch
pretty good.
hockey,
No.
Father? I don't either. I mean, I watch it like when it gets to like the playoff
don't watch
time.
hockey.
I don't even like. I watch like the outdoor games. Those are
classic.
so cool. Like the Flyers just played 2 weeks ago at Lake Tahoe. Like,
Didn't
that
they
was
have to
cool.
postpone that till the
Yeah,
nighttime because the ice started melting?
It was because like the sun glare or something.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why they didn't just schedule the games at night, like to begin with. But like I don't like watching hockey. Like
It's hard to follow for me. Like I don't know where the puck is half the time.
I know
I'll
where
be
the
honest with you.
that's like the problem is they score 3 times a game. Like that's
It's like the
three
Sixers.
and yeah. It's, okay.
Fourth
Fourth best team in the NBA, and you're gonna talk trash on it. But like there's
all
three.
our
There's
viewers
3
now know how to
tournaments.
get Peyton riled up. He's out of
If you know me personally, that's the one way you can get me like. You can just flip a switch.
You accept the Eagles hate now, but if you say something about the Sixers, you're going.
You can just flip a switch. What do you mean? I accept the Eagles hate?
Like I just said, there will never be a Super Bowl parade in Philly. You laugh
Well, they
about that.
sucked
But I
last
said,
year. Like, what am I gonna say?
No,
Like,
exactly.
They had a
That's what
good
I'm
year.
saying.
Yeah, if my teams suck, I'll admit it. But I mean, if my team's having a good year, I'm gonna like defend them.
What about the Phillies?
The Phillies have the potential to be a playoff team, but they're not gonna be.
How about the Marlins?
Marlins suck. They're gonna finish first.
when we got
That wasn't even a real season last year.
oh boy
They played half a season.
Bryce
Like a third of a season.
Bryce Harper, Popo, His first at bat.
Yeah, saw that.
See that?
Yeah, he had an oppo home run this first at bat. He's batting 1,000 right now in spring training, although he's only
against
played
the
one
Buccos,
game.
I think. It was against the Pirates.
But the Phillies lineup on the offensive side of the ball is going to be good. Their problem is always pitching, especially bullpen.
Bullpen.
Oh my gosh.
It will fall apart. There's just no two ways about it.
But the only thing that can prevent that is having your starters go deeper into games, which I feel like they have the ability to do. I mean, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, if they can stay healthy, those are two guys that can go 6-7 innings into a ball game. And I feel like those, I mean, if you can bring the bullpen in for one inning, like at most, you're setting yourself up to win a game. Especially the bullpen that's as bad as theirs. Although they did get some bullpen help this past offseason. So I'm anxious to see how they do. Like I said, obviously I expect Harper and Hoskins and Real Muto, all those guys to kind of lead the lineup on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to have a pretty good year. I think they'll make the playoffs.
What about Baum?
I'm a big fan of Alec Bohm. He's a young guy who can hit. He plays a really, really good third base. But the thing I love most about him is his swing. His whole demeanor at the plate, his swing. He's a really, really good 6 hitter for us. And I expect him to have a really good season. Like last year he got called up a quarter way through the season and they only played 60 games. So he really only played 40 of them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It wasn't the same. But
Herrera's back too.
That's a funny subject. Abdul Herrera. You know
yeah,
who he
of course
is?
I do.
I don't know. My dad hates him. I don't know. I don't know what to say about him. For me, he has to earn the fans respect back and trust. He was a terrible. First of all, he was terrible off the field, personality wise. Obviously, he got into some trouble. Mm-hmm. And on the field, he was just too cocky and he just didn't. He was a good player when his head was in the game, but it never seemed to be. So I don't know. I feel like him, Roman Quinn, Adam Hazley, those 3 guys. I mean, they could play. They can rotate in and out at all of those outfield positions. I think they have some depth in the outfield. The only problem is their depth in the infield. I'm not sure how they're going to be. Didi obviously came back. He's a really good player. Gene Segura, one of my favorite players on the team. He's a really good player. And Hoskins, Bohm. But outside of those 4, they really don't have much depth behind them. So we'll see. I'm anxious to get the season started, first of all. I mean, it's been so long since we had a normal. And now that Governor Wolf is now letting fans, he's going to let fans in the stadiums, I read.
I think 10% or something.
I believe the Wells Fargo Center is going to be 500 people, and it seats 10,000. So I'm not. You can do the math there.
I was hoping you would.
It probably seats a little more than 10,000. That seems a bit small, but.
I was happy when they said the Pirates would allow over 3,000 fans. I thought, well, they might be able to sell out that allotment then, because generally they don't.
Yeah.
Oh, if you think Pirates attendance is bad, Marlins have been.
Oh, my favorite is watching.
Bad.
My favorite is watching a game with the Marlins, and you can hear 2 people yelling.
Yeah.
You can hear what they're saying.
No, it's
That's
embarrassing.
I don't know. I feel
We have I think we have a nice stadium too.
Except for that stupid.
Fish tank.
The stupid thing in the center field that the
Oh
dolphin,
yeah. That's so funny.
Art sculpture in the
it moves. It's so funny.
And the dolphins swim back and forth. Or whatever.
That's tough. I love that.
There's a fish tank. There's a fish tank behind home plate.
I love that.
It's all dumb.
I have no idea what it looks like, but that sounds so tough.
The fish tank behind home plate is awesome. That's my favorite part of Marlins Park. But I don't know.
Some big UFC fights this weekend.
Jacob, this is your specialty.
All right. Well, if you didn't hear, Amanda Nunes beat whoever she was fighting.
2 minutes.
It doesn't matter. Amanda Nunes is the best female fighter ever in the UFC, and arguably I would like to see her fight a guy on the UFC roster. Just straight. You'd be surprised.
I know. I've seen her
fight.
fight.
She is a beast. And then Blachowicz beat Israel Adesanya, who, if you don't know, is the champion of the 185 middleweight weight class, but bumped up to light heavyweight and was undersized, and he lost by decision, I think 48-47. It was a good fight. Izzy clearly lost, and he was humble about it, and I think he's one of the best fighters on the roster. I don't know if you guys know anything.
What are your thoughts on Conor McGregor?
I mean, needs to focus on.
Yeah, that's my guy right there, man. You better not be
He's
talking
ranked
trash
like
about
6th in his division, but
I watched UFC fights when they're like big namers. Like,
and there's some big.
Holly
namers.
Holm. She fell. She fell.
not
I thought
huge
Jose
anymore.
Canseco and Johnny Football.
That was a boxing match.
I know. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. But that wraps up our NBA / NFL / boxing / UFC / MLB / March Madness talk. Okay, so now we're going to be getting into our Instagram questions for Father Sahd. Father, your first question comes from Connor Pushart. What was the Seminary Basketball League like?
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Connor, for your question. I'm so glad that it was printable and able to be used on the air, like some of the other questions. But anyway, so I would say the Seminary Basketball League was, we had intramurals at our place, so we had like six teams or 4 teams, and we'd have just intramurals in the winter. And so we had, a league and a champion. So it was actually fun. And then we had a tournament, though, once every year that we go to Chicago for. And all the seminaries in the country would go. And there were some guys that played on... There was one team that had a guy from Georgia Tech that was studying to be a priest. And a guy from Davidson who was studying to be a priest. He was
Steph Curry.
It was a guy who was behind Steph Curry in scoring for
Really?
Davidson. So they, of course, won. They ran through that tournament a couple times. But that was neat just to meet guys from all over the country. But we got smoked on that team. I enjoyed it. The Bonnies, no. The Bonnies would not get smoked. I'm telling you, look out for the Bonnies. They're like Loyola Chicago this year in the tournament. So that would be the Seminary basketball intramurals. I have a beautiful jersey and a warm-up jacket to remind me of those wonderful days.
How many points did you average?
I wasn't a big scorer, but I got the rebounds. One game I had 27 rebounds, just for your information.
A lot of missed shots?
A lot of them were my missed shots and putbacks that I missed and got in on. But I did get 27 rebounds. I was very proud of that.
That is crazy.
I got a wingspan, yeah.
Yeah. All right, your next question comes from SlimPickens03. He wants to know your workout routine because you look like you're in your early 30s, but you're 42.
That is a very generous question. I run every day 3 miles.
Yes, sir.
Down to Mechanicsburg High School around the track and back. But before COVID, I'd go to the gym and just do like half an hour on the elliptical.
All right. Okay, your next question comes from Aaron Cartwright. How do you think the Pirates are going to do this year?
Yeah, we kind of tackled that. I would say last place. And I think they will near 100 losses.
Okay.
Probably like 95 to 97 is my guess.
I definitely think they're going to be in last place, yes.
So I don't think there's any doubt.
All right, your last question comes from Isaac Pham. What is your athletic ability? I'm not sure what he means by this question. Maybe what your highest point of athletics was?
The highest point of athletics? Oh my gosh. I would say when I haven't grown an inch since 8th grade.
Okay.
So in
I
8th
peaked
grade...
in 8th grade, too.
Huh?
I peaked in 8th grade.
You peaked in 8th grade? Oh, I wouldn't hardly say that, Jacob. But I would say that I was a center on my basketball team in 8th grade. And then in 9th grade, I was the shortest guy to try out for the basketball team. So, I didn't grow an inch, and I haven't grown an inch since then. So, I don't know how to do anything except play under. I can't handle the ball. So, I really like to play underneath and kind of mop up and stuff down there. But I'm not an outsider.
You're like the Rudy Gobert of...
No, I'm not the Rudy Gobert, Steph Curry. I couldn't shoot a 3 if you asked me to.
Rudy Gobert can't shoot a 3.
Rudy Gobert can't shoot anything outside of it.
He can't even score, especially when he goes up against Joelle Embiid.
Oh my God, are we going to get into this again?
No, he's right. He dominated him.
All right, well, that sums up episode 4. Father, thank you for coming on with us.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having me.
Thank you for coming. And on behalf of all of us, I believe you can come back whenever you want. So if the fans want to see you again, we'll probably do a voting here in the next couple weeks.
Put me up against Joelle Embiid and see if,
Yeah.
see if I can.
That would be a blowout.
For you, yeah. All right. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.